I'll just kind of, do some updates real quick. Roster-wise, obviously finished our remaining scholarships. McQuatch arrives tonight, and Vladdy appointment on Friday for his student visa, and hopefully leaving right after that. So hopefully get him in here this weekend. Everybody else in here is good to go. Antono graduated, I believe, this morning or yesterday. It became official. He finished his classes back in the summer, but so far so good as far as everybody set to go on time coming here. We will have walk-on tryouts on Friday. Really looking to see if we can find another body or two to help supplement our roster in depth and practice and potentially even in playing. Was very fortunate last year at New Mexico State to add somebody as a walk-on that really helped us. And I'm looking for the same thing here. I think with two players sitting out as transfers, it's great for next year's class and next year's team, but might leave us a little bit on the thin end for this year's team. And if we can find someone out there, that'd be great. We were all at Johnson Gym the other night watching some rec basketball. Contacted a former football player. We're looking everywhere we can right now to see if there's a young man out there that could potentially help our team this year in some capacity. And if we can get one, that'd be great. Staff, I'd say pretty much complete with the last two additions. Would like to add someone that focuses on analytics. I have not found that right person yet. I'm not married to it. If we don't find the right person for us, we won't do it. We'll probably just kind of contract some of that stuff out. But again, if we can find someone there, that'd probably be our last addition to our staff. And basketball-wise, just started kind of a 6-week program, take us up to the end of September. Very strength and conditioning oriented. And the basketball side of things is twofold. One, to develop them individually over the next 6 weeks, but also to evaluate each of them and how they would fit into our desired style of play, offensively and defensively. So a lot of the things we're going to be doing is obviously training them individually, but also gauging where they would be at and how we want to play offensively and defensively. And that's kind of twofold as well. One, will these guys or who exactly will fit best into how we want to play across a lot of different variables? And then two, depending on how the results of that shape, how will we maybe ameliorate what we want to do as well? So that's kind of just an update on where we're at. Players, staff. We've obviously tried to spend some time in the community here to get things going for our program and hopefully for attendance. And I think that's really about it. If anybody has any questions.
The two international players, what was the holdup with the visa situation? We had a student visa before.
It is, yeah. It's a pretty lengthy process to go through, and we started them both pretty late in the process as far as, the University of New Mexico and acquiring official transcripts and sending out documents. Then you have to go to your local embassy, get them approved. The wait time on all those things kind of starts to add up. And some countries are easier than others, and that's really what we've kind of gone through with those two guys.
So watch, you're confident he's coming here tonight?
He's in LA right now waiting on he's good to go. He's unfortunately I think he landed in LA at 9 a.m. and the next flight out was 8 p.m. So he's sitting in LA right now.
With Vladimir, there's still a chance he doesn't play this year.
That would be the Jeff Grammer way of exaggerating it to a pretty serious degree, but we're expecting him to be good to go. He's been accepted into the school. Transcripts have arrived. He has an appointment with his embassy on Friday morning, and provided that embassy is fine, appointment is good, he hops on a plane and comes over.
Okay, but not just to be Jeff Grammer, but
yeah.
To be clear, though, he is not 100% cleared to come here yet.
By the United States government, no, but we would expect that to happen.
With the analytics, you said you were looking for someone to start analyzing some stuff.
Sure.
Can you give us an example of some of the things that maybe you'll plan on using and analyzing that might be kind of out of the box?
You know, I was actually talking about this with another coach this morning from another program. And, you know, last year when I became the head coach in Mexico State is very similar to this year in that there's a lot of different options and a lot of different ways the lineup can go. And what I would really like to utilize with this person, particularly all the way through the early part of the year, is just helping us evaluate who those best players happen to be. You know, I think a lot of people have opinions on who you think you should be playing, who he thinks should be playing, who I think should be playing, and you can have those all night long about who those best guys are to go out and play. But sometimes numbers behind that really make those decisions easier. And, you know, really breaking down numbers-wise each of those players' values on the court, you know, hopefully will make our decisions easier when it comes to, okay, these are the 9 or 10 that are going to play, and these are the few that might not, and these are the ones that are going to play a little bit more than these other ones. And those kinds of decisions to me or us, you know, right now are of the greatest value. Finding any which way we can squeeze every ounce out of this roster that we can. And to me, that comes with optimizing who's playing, how much they're playing, and who gives us the best chance to win.
Coach, sometimes it's go ahead.
How much does it have to have somebody like David Joe coming back, you know, who knows his way around here?
Yep.
How much of all of that have him come back and help out? He practiced up in practice.
Yeah, you know, when I first got here, and I don't know how many days in I was, but, you know, there's a lot of people coming in and out of my office and meeting players, coaches, a million people. And there was a guy out front sitting in a suit waiting to speak to me all day. And finally I was like, you know, I didn't know. I was like, you know, who is this guy? And he said, Coach, I didn't have an appointment. I just wanted to speak with you. And that was really the first impression he ever made on me. And we talked about just his life, his career here, what he did here as a player, what he's done professionally as a player, and a lot of the values and things that he kind of subscribes to are the same kind of things I did. And I remember just feeling like I really like this guy and what he stands for. He worked our camps this summer, which was good. I got a chance to know him and be around him and see him in that light. And then as we just had further conversations about his life and where he is now and where his career, you know, would potentially go, he wants to get into coaching. And I thought to myself that he'd be a great resource, not only for our current players, but for us as well, just to have someone that had been here from another era of success. And I just think everything he's about, what's made him a good player, you just can't help but like. And hopefully if that rubs off on our players, you know, that's great as well. And then lastly, I think it's great to have former players around our program, you know, and there's a lot of recruits or even current players on our team that, you know, one day want to get into coaching. And I think it's positive to have a former player here to say, you know what, if all the logistics line up right, you know, you might be able to start on it here. Or if not, maybe come back again at some point. So, you know, it was a home run on a lot of different levels, and I'm really happy we have them.
Coach, sometimes it's ambiguous to me, NCAA rules. When can you officially say this is our first practice with balls and chalkboards
Yep.
and staff?
Yep. You have 30 practices in 42 days from your first game, which I think for us is September 30th or October 1st. I think from November 11th. That's kind of the first day. We're probably going to take those first few days off and start closer to the second or the third will probably be our first day. And the hope right now is to have I don't even know if it's out, a cherry and silver game potentially in that first week. That's kind of the plan right now. I think there'll be a release coming out here at some point. And we're planning on holding that at Johnson Gym.
Coach, Jeff Kramer signed. How do you want to use those 3 bigs?
You know, we're open to a lot of things. I really don't want to pigeonhole any of these guys. I do feel as though the value and why we wanted to add Vlad and what Joe has as well is I think both of them can play both forward spots. So I think having that flexibility is good for us. And hopefully if Vlad comes in and is able to kind of contribute even in a small way, then we'll be able to slide Joe over to play some 4. If for whatever reason, Vlad's more of a long-term guy and we feel as though it's going to take some time, then Joe will probably playing a little bit more 5 as well. But, that was why we wanted to bring in someone that could play both spots, just because it kind of gave us some flexibility to move some guys around the floor. Connor, I think, is prime for a good year, and I'm really hopeful. Him and Joe are going to be 2 guys we really count on. So we need good years out of them, and wherever we happen to put them has to be really in their best interest to make sure we can get a lot out of them. Those 2 are really key guys to our season.
Just like getting these guys late isn't something you guys are the only ones doing anymore. Everyone's doing it. ESPN had one of the top recruits going to Duke
Yep.
very late.
Yep.
Brandon Clark, the first team all-league guy, just announced yesterday that he's transferring from San Jose State. This kind of new trend, though, does come with some risks, it sounds like getting guys here on campus in time and stuff like that. Is that just the way things are going now everywhere, or is this kind of just a blip in the radar this year, having so much of this going on when classes are starting?
I think if you listen to the narratives from coaches, I think this is new to all of us to some extent. I mean, San Diego State just signed somebody a couple weeks ago in this class. Rosters are just becoming more and more fluid in college athletics. I shouldn't say college athletics, college men's basketball. I don't know enough about the other sports, but I think we're all just kind of getting a little bit, is this a temporary trend, or is this a long-term, we just have to be ready for these kinds of things. I do think, and this is the first time I've been through it, taking a scholarship into the summer almost has a decent value to it that maybe it didn't have before. And I think that's something that we'll definitely be thinking about going forward when we think about taking a player at that point, given what might be available later on.
How does it then affect the front end of this and trying to get the recruiting class done in November, the early signing period?
Very much so. We're a little behind. I think right now in 18, and we're working on it every second right now, because we spent so much time on finishing up 17, probably not where we'd like to be right now in 18. Is that what you were asking?
That, but also, does it just change your strategy? Is it as important to get that 18 class done in November when you know that the summer has these many players
Sure.
still available?
I think for us, this year's team became a pretty big priority, especially when we got Vance, and then especially when we got Jaquan. I think we feel as though the 18 team is in really good shape right now, with those 2 becoming eligible and then having kind of that glut of seniors we're going to have. So our recruiting right now, not only in the fall of 18, but I think all the way through to the fall of 19, is going to be like thinking about that team. I'm sorry, all the way through fall of 18 is going to have that in mind. How are we going to prepare for that year's team? Because that's the team that's going to have, right now, from a recruiting perspective, a lot of holes to fill. Anyone that can help us in the short term is great, and we would never turn that down. But right now we have a lot of eggs in 18, 19, and we really need to think about beyond.
You walked away from Johnson Jones before they
There might be some NCAA rules. I don't know if I'm allowed to comment on those. I'm just kidding. I don't know. It was really cool to be over there. It's a really neat facility. I'm glad we're going to do something there and do something with our team in Johnson. Just to be around kids and students was cool. I hope we get a good turnout on Friday, not only for our team, but maybe just kind of the connections between kids that love to play basketball at UNM and the Lobo basketball team. If we get someone, it would be huge for us. But at the same time, we're going into it with a very open mind, one way or the other. If it doesn't happen to work out, nothing ventured, nothing gained. We're just turning over every rock we can to try and find players.
How challenging is it going to be with, not only are you new coach coming into a new program, but this program has so many new faces on it, the guys that you've been bringing in. How challenging is it going to be in this first year with guys that you haven't necessarily seen compete at this level?
Yeah, we have a very diligent 6-week plan right now, and the goal is at the end of this 6 weeks to really have, I don't want to say our team set or anything like that, but to have really evaluated them thoroughly. And we're going through a very intense evaluation process, myself included, where by the end of September the 29th is the Friday. On September the 29th, We want to be very. We have to make up for a lot of this new turnover, new coach. And that's what we're going to spend the next 6 weeks on. There's a training component to it, but there's also a very heavy evaluation component to it as well.
Before that evaluation,
Yep.
what you know about your players so far,
Yep.
the conditioning, you've read about them, I've seen some tape. Do you have an early vision, a hopeful early vision of what's there, and an imagination to go with it?
Very much so. I mean, our first team meeting on Saturday night was emotional. I think I hope I communicated the values I want this team to be about to them in a very real way. I think they know the kinds of things we want to see and we want to be about, and that's a big part of the evaluation process. But I think it's also hopefully going to be a big part of who we are and what we're going to be about. There's a effort component to that. There's a hard-working component to that. There's a toughness part of that. And those are the things I really wanted to make sure we instilled when they first got here. And that's what I hope will carry us throughout this season, no matter where the other chips fall. We want to be about that, and that was how I wanted our first meeting to be. The rest of the specifics and the details we'll sort out in time, who ends up playing more or less, exactly how much we want to implement different parts of our strategies or where we want to do them. But underneath all that is a backbone that I really wanted to make sure we put in place, and that's really all we talked about on Saturday night.
You told us before, I'm not taking time just to what you got. So did you get the type of players that fit in the system
I believe so. Obviously, Vance, and Jaquan are a little different just because they're not playing this year. But I felt as far as their value, if either of them were high school seniors right now, they'd be going to any school they wanted in the country. So we knew we just from a value perspective, we had to take them. And that'll give them a year to acclimate to our system and get prepared and hopefully make a very big impact this year. Or the following year. The guys we added previously when I got here were perfect fits for us. I think all the guards can shoot. They really improve our speed, our ball handling ability, and overall it complements how we want to play and the things we want to do. And then obviously we were always trying to find a little bit of length to round out the roster. McQuatch, it was kind of the first part of that. He's a guy that can play a few different positions and I think has really good upside. And then Vladi ended up being the last piece. And both of them, when you go internationally, you don't exactly know what you're going to get. You do all your due diligence. You do your research. You watch as much as you can. But there are times they come here and they blow you away, and then there's times they come there and take a little bit of time. I mean, it's all to varying degrees. So, there's a lot of guys we're hoping to contribute this year. And if we get anything out of the two freshmen, I'll be really happy.
Anything else?
I have one thing.
Yep.
That cherry silver game that you thought you might have over at Johnson Gym.
Yep.
I was gonna say you might give it some thought because I think with all the new players that you have, you could have a huge crowd there, and the parking is impossible.
Yep.
And it only holds probably about 3,500 or 4,000 people, and I think you might get more than you're thinking from the public because of all the new players.
No, and the release will be out, I think, within the next day or two. We are going to do it. My hope was to do something school-oriented for students and faculty and staff at UNM and to allow us to connect with them. So we are going to do it, and I think the release will be out here shortly. And hopefully make it like a UNM campus-oriented event. Not that we would ever close it off to the public or not want anyone to come. I want everyone to come, but I really wanted to kind of have some personal time with students, faculty, staff, people that want to be around our program, and that's kind of the intent for that game.
Coach, what are they saying to you around town about the new look, new regime locally?
Everybody's great. Like I've told a few people, I haven't lost yet, so they're all on board right now, which is part of it. And I'm hopeful that the excitement that we've generated and are igniting is something that at some point is going to be on me. It's going to be on us to keep those people. All I'm really asking for from people right now is a chance. Just give us a chance. Just give me a chance. Give our team a chance. And then once you come and watch us, judge for yourself. If you don't think we play hard enough, if you don't think we're tough enough, then I'm okay with that. But those are the things that we're going to try and be about. and hopefully it's entertaining enough and we're successful enough that people will buy into what we're selling right now.